we have two women who, I think on the surface, maybe don't have that much in common, but if you dig a little deeper, there's quite a lot of parallels. So we are joined by Khalida Popal, and it's quite a depressing experience because both of their life resumes are going to make me feel terrible about myself. So Khalida grew up in Kabul, playing football under Taliban rule. She went on to become the founder of the Afghan women's national team. You occupied various key roles in the Afghan Women's Soccer Federation, and you are now founder and director of the Girl Power organisation. And we also have Sierra, and I'm going to apologise, I still haven't worked out a way to say your surname in a British accent.
Quitiquit.
That's in British, in American?
Quitiquit?
That sounds much more natural, I think. Sierra grew up in Utah, in Park City, was a fervent skier until what sounds like a very nasty accident, and is now a model, a climate activist, worked with Nike, with Gucci, with Montclair, among others, I think, and you work for let me get the names right, Time for Better, Chief Executive and founder of Time for Better, and you also work with Protect Our Winters. Obviously, Afghanistan and Utah are quite far away from each other, but I think for both of you, is it fair to say that sport provided kind of a means of escape of identity when you were young, Khalida?
Yes. For me, football was escape to feel freedom in a very strict culture, in a male-dominated country, in a war-torn country. Not only for me, but for my sisters who we played together. We wanted to enjoy the minutes, the moments that football brought in our lives, the freedom as a human beings that we needed. And that's what I love about sport in general.
And Sierra, did you find the same with being out in the snow?
I think for me it was freedom from the three brothers that I shared a bedroom with. It was a nice incentive to be outside.
Yeah, that I can imagine that made sense. You've both also chosen to use your backgrounds, your passions, to kind of use your platform to affect change. Is that a conscious thing? Is that something you have to kind of decide to do, or is it something that's within you, a sort of an urge, a desire to use this thing that, as we talked about so much, kind of unites so many people to address major issues?
For me, my passion always been football, but when the passion was threatened and was trying to be taken by a group of people just because of my gender, that's where I realized that it's not just about the game, but it's about more than just the football and about our future. And it's a chain that needs to be broken. And that's why football became a purpose in my life and a movement that I started. And as a result, the first women's national team was founded, and we played in the history of our country, using our platform and our purpose to be the voice for our voiceless sisters in Afghanistan who are living under oppression.
When you were playing in those early games, were you conscious that was something transformative for all women in Afghanistan and in all countries where they're not able to play football?
When we started, we didn't know where the movement will go, but it was our purpose and our passion. And we started advocating, we started campaigning, and as a result, so many people, so many women joined. And because of the Afghanistan Women's National Team and the foundation we built, and our story and history not only made changes in the lives of women in Afghanistan, also men, but for so many around the world. And our stories become so inspiring that so many young girls started playing football.
And Sierra, obviously, winter athletes, which I think is probably the correct term for people who do sports on snow, are kind of reliant on the climate in a way that maybe other athletes for non-winter sports aren't. So I guess it's natural to be energized, to be animated by the climate crisis that we faced, because ultimately there is a possibility, a likelihood, a certainty that the ongoing issues will change the faces of those sports, if not make them very difficult to pursue in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. As a young woman, I spent a lot of time outdoors, and I had certain metrics of normalcy, which was when I got to build my bedroom in the snow cave outside and get away from my brothers. And that metric disappeared. And I started to think, maybe this is that global warming thing that my teachers had mentioned. So for me, the thought of losing the joy, the passion, my sport became devastating. So I started to dedicate my platform as an athlete when I was quite young to speaking out about what was then global warming, now we refer to as climate change. And as my journey has deepened into this movement, it's not just about the loss of joy and snowpack and passion. It's about justice for all people. It's about justice for marginalized people, that this crisis means life or death.
We are obviously at a sport and fashion conference, and there's two aspects, I guess, that we should address. One is kind of the role of fashion in the identity of sports. Khalida, do you remember your first soccer jersey?
I do. That was the best moment in my life when we wore the first uniform, the first jersey with the badge on. That was the best moment, empowering moment, because we really fought hard. We put our lives in risk to campaign and get that platform. For us as young women, that was a winning moment. To earn that badge, to earn that jersey, and stand with pride that represented not only playing for the national team, but a pride, a courage, a unity that sport brought to us, within us, that has changed the narrative about women of Afghanistan.
Because we talked a lot about jerseys in terms of branding, in terms of design, these aspects that are hugely important, but they have whether it's a club team or particularly a nation, they have a real kind of meaning to the people who wear them, and not just players, to the people who wear them, to show their loyalty, to show their identity, even if it's just watching like the Euros in a bar. You are kind of, it's a way of confirming your identity. They're garments that are central to people.
Yes, indeed. Our uniform, and still I do have a strong feeling about it. It is a symbol that tells about our history and all the design itself, and the fact that we really put our lives with what we have been, the women of Afghanistan, through to earn that badge, to earn that jersey, and represent our country. That was the best moment, but also it comes with our identity. So when our jerseys, when our uniform, that we put our life in risk, were taken back in 2021 when our country was collapsed, and that was changed to our girls were forced to taking their jerseys off, wear the burqas, and that hurt so much. And that jersey is taken away from us now.
You made special efforts to get the jerseys in American, out of Afghanistan when the Taliban returned. That, I guess, shows the importance of those pieces of material, all the design efforts that people are making. They really matter to people.
It does. It is our history, the loin in the front, our heritage, and I co-designed with the company that jersey because it was telling our story and history, and we were wearing with pride. Now our men's national team is wearing, and they're traveling around representing the country. But the women of Afghanistan living in exile, they are not allowed to represent Afghanistan. Unfortunately, we lost our titles.
When you do a lot of work with the Dil Power organisation in refugee camps, do you think that when women, particularly in places like that, who've lost so much, who are facing so many daily challenges, when they are able to put on a soccer jersey, whether it's of their nation or whether it's Barcelona or Real Madrid or whatever, do you think that has a power, that ability to kind of put on a piece of clothing that changes your purpose, even if it's just for an hour to play soccer?
Sport jersey has a connection with the community. you belong to somewhere. It's not piece of material you're wearing. It's connecting you to a community. And sometimes those community and the logo and the badge that you're putting, it's actually identifying, it symbolizes a greater purpose, and you feel you're part of it. And when living in refugee centers, especially the young girls, when we bring footballs to them and the jersey, that's my main thing, that they need to have a jersey. They feel part of the community, and we always say to them that welcome to our sisterhood, to our community. Remember, we are here together, sisters from Afghanistan to Africa to Europe. We are all here together, and this symbol is telling a story of sisterhood. It feels special. When I was as a teenager wearing the first time a sports kit, that was the boys' kids, and it was baggy and wasn't really fit. When I first time wear the well-designed for women outfit, I felt so confident. So imagine you're entering in a stadium, you feel more comfortable, you're just standing like, it just comes more add on to you're confident as young women, as young man. That clothes matters.
It's a feeling of belonging, I suppose, wherever you are. Sierra, there is another side to sport and fashion, and I guess this is true of winter sports, maybe not particularly, but certainly as well. Fashion has a huge impact on climate change. We know that. We know that there is a considerable footprint from the fashion industry. How do you, as an athlete and as a model, kind of square that within your own mind?
Does anybody know the impact that fashion has on global greenhouse gas emissions?
This is a genuine quiz section, so feel free to put your hands up.
It's quite surprising, actually. It's 10%, which is more than global transportation. So it's very, very significant, the choice that we choose to adorn ourselves. And as an athlete, I struggle constantly with my role as an ambassador to many organizations and representing, as well as a winter sports athlete, where we need quite technical gear, where it's often laden in things like forever chemicals. And one of the things that I encourage people is to really understand the story of their garments, not just the aesthetic and the visual, but imagine, where did this come from? And trace the story back all the way to the soil. Was this grown from the land, or was it extracted, like many of our fabrics are, from fossil fuels, and we're actually laden our body with fossil fuels? And as the largest organ in our body, our skin, where is that material then flowing and going? And so the story of these materials that we're wearing are really, really critical in our understanding of the impact that we are choosing. And as athletes, we play a challenging role because we represent organizations that sometimes aren't doing the best, but I think it's always better to work from the inside than the outside. And so I'm lucky I get to play a critical role of not just external facing, but also internal facing, and helping organizations nudge them towards the next best step along their supply chain.
What do you think the next best step looks like in terms of fashion and sustainability, whether that's in kind of winter sports particularly, which, as you say, are very technical. There's a lot of, you need technical clothing, specific clothing, complicated clothing. What do you think the next steps look like?
I mean, there's so many different ways to approach sustainability that are really exciting, but I think critically durability, and I think luxury is often missing this communication aspect. It's when you buy something that's inherently luxurious, it's well made, so it's going to last for a long lifetime, and it's also going to retain its value within the circular economy. And we're seeing a lot of organizations now taking their products back in-house rather than just sending them out linearly once to the consumer. They're wanting to be a part of that circular economy internally.
So each item of clothing lasts for longer, which reduces waste, which seems kind of logical, I think.
Yeah, I think we live in a throwaway culture, a fast fashion, quick turnaround culture. And if we can consume less and consume more mindfully, and that thing that we've consumed is made to last and it's made to live in our closet for a long time. And when, we've decided that we want to give it a new home, it has value, it has durability to find its way to another loved home.
I think in your early days of skiing, you had experience of that because obviously very few people around the world can buy, a brand new set of skis and all the equipment that you need to be on a mountain and not be freezing firsthand. You are used, within skiing, I think there is a healthy culture of recycling equipment, making sure that you take a pair of skis and you only stop using them when they really stop working.
I come from a very humble family, from humble beginnings, and the way that my family and I had access to sport was through secondhand marketplace, and then it was economically driven, which is a great way to communicate sustainability by saving money. But now it's a proud ethos that I wear when I get to walk out and say everything that I'm currently wearing has a sustainability component. And I'm proud to shop secondhand markets, and it's a really accessible way for people to step into sustainable fashion themselves.
What is it about sport that makes these issues, makes it such an ideal or powerful vehicle for the climate crisis? And women's and girls' rights are two of the most pressing issues facing humanity. And often, certainly as a journalist, you feel that the way that those are communicated most effectively is through sport. Why?
Sport has a platform and a power, and especially football, my world, has a power and platform. And all the legends and heroes in sport, they have responsibility. It's changing. If we compare the last years, people are taking, especially the athletes, well-known athletes, that they have followers, they are taking action, they are standing with each causes, if it's about empowerment, about climate. It all connects together. We cannot talk about women empowerment if we ignore about climate action, because if it's war, if it's climate changes, the first one who sacrifice, the first one who are victims are women and girls and young children. Those are the ones who are in a great risk. And that's what I'm so happy that there are many great athletes out there. They are campaigning, they are taking action, they are advocating, they are, especially women footballers. The women football become quite advocacy platform, and they have understood their platform, but also the power. That's a great thing about sport, and it's changing and also showing the new generation. And that's what we have been doing. I have been using my platform, the power. The first time when I got the badge and the title of being captain, I felt responsible towards my community, towards the people, towards the world, towards the global. And I have been standing and taking action for the causes and using my voice, not for myself, but beyond me, for something that's important, and that's women and human rights.
And you presumably, Sarah, would say the same about climate, that it's the best way to express it, what's happening to the planet, is through sport.
I think for those of us that spend a lot of time outside, it's absolutely undeniable that things are shifting, and they're shifting really rapidly. And not just for someone like myself that's very intimately involved in snowpack, but also footballers that are showing up to stadiums where it's 50 degrees and they're air conditioning the outdoor stadium, and this is becoming our new normal. And it's great for us that have access to aircon or access to get on a plane and fly somewhere else where it's snowing. But I spend a lot of time thinking about the communities that don't have the same privileges or access that I do, and how I can be a conduit or a voice for those people. Because at the end of the day, sports is about being on a team, and we're all team human here. And we're in a really beautiful moment where there's a lot of shift happening in the world, and the opportunity to be a part of the momentum that's leading towards justice, it's an honor.
Thank you both so much for your time. It's been a privilege speaking to you, Khalida and Sierra, everybody.
Thank you so much.